Okay, this video covers Chapter 7 in our math curriculum. And Chapter 7 is all about data, which is just information, and surveys, which is how you collect that information, and tally charts, which are how you can record that information, and picture graphs and bar graphs, which are ways that you can show that information in a graph. So for an example, let's remember our walkathon. Remember, if you were here that day, you had a little note card with your name on it, and you did laps around the grassy field, and every time you made one lap, someone gave you one tally mark. So here you can see a close-up picture of how one of those cards might have looked after a student finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 laps. The student would have 6 tally marks. In this first example, we won't be talking about surveys because surveys are like questionnaires. And when you did the walkathon, you earned your tally marks for every lap you made. It wasn't tally marks for every question that you answered or anything like that. And when we came back into the classroom, each of you took your note card with your tally marks and you counted up all the tally marks, and then you wrote down in a number form how many laps you did. So on this card, this student wrote a number 6. Here's an example of a tally chart. So let's just pretend that I wanted to make a chart of the boys versus the girls. And I figured out which boy and which girl had the most tally marks on their card. Now, I'm just making this up because I don't remember. But let's say that the top scoring boy had 7 tally marks on his card, and the top scoring girl had 8. Just saying. I could record that information in what is called a tally chart. So there you have the boy, the girl, the tally marks, and then you have the count written in number form, the total. Total is 7 for the boys and 8 for the girls. On this page, you can see the tally chart up there in the corner, and you can see how we are going to use the 7 and the 8 to create 2 different kinds of graphs. Number 1 is a picture graph, and we will be using pictures of the boy and the girl. And number 2 is a bar graph. And we will be using these boxes because when you put these boxes together, looks like they kind of form a bar. And a bar graph also has something that looks like a number line, and that's to help the reader understand the counts. Okay, in this page you see that the picture graph is in purple and the bar graph has a green border, and you can see where I've put the 7 for the boys and the 8 for the girls. If we look at the purple border graph first, the picture graph, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pictures of the boy and 8 pictures of the girl. And that's how it gets its name, picture graph. So each one of the boys and each one of the girls represents 1 lap. Now let's look at number 2, the bar chart. I still have a picture of a boy and a girl, but this time I'm not putting the pictures in the boxes. I'm just filling up the number of boxes to match their total number of laps. So again, in the row for the boys, there are 7 yellow boxes. And in the row for the girls, there are 8. And if you look at the bottom of that graph, you will see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's just how the bar chart is created. So there are some similarities, but there are some differences. Now let's take a look at some of the vocabulary. Number 1, a picture graph. A picture graph is a graph that uses different pictures to show the data, to show the information. So there's an example. If you were comparing different fruit, you might be using an apple, an orange, and a banana. In our graph for the walkathon, we used a picture of a boy and a girl. So I'm going to skip down to number 3, a survey. And you can see there's a picture there of a clipboard with a questionnaire on it and a pencil and a person standing next to a question mark. And that person would be the person who is collecting the information using a survey or a questionnaire. So the meaning of a survey is to collect data by asking the same question. Obviously, you're trying to find out, like, which is your favorite fruit? Apples, oranges, or bananas? Or who ran faster? Or who ran the most laps? The boys or the girls? So that's what the survey does. It asks the questions. Let's skip down to number 4, the tally chart. Well, underneath the vocabulary words, you can see a picture of a survey. And I would use tally marks to record what's your favorite snack, apple, pretzel, or juice. And then you use the survey to fill in your tally chart. So they're almost identical, except the tally chart has that last column called total. And that's where you write the number that matches each set of tally marks. So number 4, a tally chart is a chart that shows a mark, a tally mark, for each vote in a survey, and it also shows the total count for each answer. Now let's go back to number 2, data. Well, data is really just information. So data is numbers or pictures collected to show information. So you collect that information in a survey. You use the survey to create a tally chart, and you use the tally chart to create a picture graph or a bar graph. So now let's look at another example that gives us a closer look at how these things work together to produce graphs. This page again shows us the big picture of how these different parts work together. So you would use a survey to gather information or data, and you would put tally marks on your survey to keep track of what the answers are. And then the survey would be used to create a tally chart. The tally chart looks just like the survey, except it has an extra place to put the number that matches the tally marks. And from the tally chart, going down to the 2 bottom pictures, number 1, you could produce a picture graph, or number 2, you could use the information from the tally chart to produce a bar graph. Here we are going to compare the survey and the tally chart. So the survey's on top, and you can read with me. The information in the survey is used to make a tally chart. And under that is an example of a tally chart. The tally chart has a place to write the total number for each choice, and that's basically the only difference. So we've taken a look at the survey where you put your tally marks. We've taken a look at the tally chart where you write the number that matches the tally marks. And now we're going to take a look at how you use the tally chart to produce different kinds of graphs. So let's compare the two kinds of graphs that we're learning about in Chapter 7. Number 1 and number 2. So number 1 is the purple picture graph, and number 2 is the green bar graph. So what's the difference? So far, they look almost the same, except I'm noticing kind of a number line on the bar graph. But other than that, they're pretty equal. Oh, once you fill in the information, they really do look kind of different. The purple picture graph, remember, uses pictures to record each person's answer. So if you were doing a survey asking people, what is your favorite snack, apples, pretzels, or juice, you could tell from the purple picture graph that 2 people picked apple, 4 people picked pretzel, and 3 people picked juice. And we show it with pictures. Now if we skip over to number 2, the bar graph, the 2 people who picked apple, we'd fill in 2 boxes next to apple. And the 4 people who picked pretzel, we'd fill in 4 boxes. And the 3 people who picked juice, we would fill in 3 boxes. And when you fill in those boxes, each row looks like a bar going across the page. And remember, it has a number line, which we call a scale. So to return to the first page in Chapter 7, you learned how you collect data, you collect information using a survey or a questionnaire. And from the survey information, you make a tally chart. And you use the tally chart to make a picture graph or a bar graph. So those are the key concepts in Chapter 7.